Alright, well I've got something kind of neat for you guys today, for you electric universe theory fans. I've got some information from symbolism from 500 years ago, and also backed up by the Bible, believe it or not, that shows that some things that support the electric universe theory. The person that I'm showing you here is Athanasius Kircher. He was a Jesuit priest between 1602 and 1680 is when he was living. And he was one of the first guys I was turned on to. I was turned on to his work and his alchemical art that he's done because he was showing symbolism within inside his art that matched up to what I had been finding as far as my research goes and my discoveries. We're going to see a little bit of that in a minute. But just to let you know, Athanasius Kircher, 17th century German Jesuit scholar and polymath, he published around 40 major works, most notably in the fields of Oriental studies, geology, and medicine. Kircher has been compared to the fellow Jesuit Roger Boscovic and also to Leonardo da Vinci for his enormous range of interests, and has been honored with the title Master of 100 Arts. He was also the father of Egyptology because he was the first one to get in there and start cracking on it. And he is also, there is a book out about him, and it's called Athanasius Kircher, The Last Man Who Knew Everything. Now, if you're familiar with any of his work, he's got a 1,000-page book out there where he's just gone all over the place. He's got all these intricate diagrams, alchemical art, and so forth. It's called Mundi Subterranei. You can find it on archive.org, and it's a little over 1,000 pages, and it shows the original. But inside that, he's got all kinds of cool alchemical art, which we're going to show. So here's the deal. So I found something that within the art seems to back up something that I had heard recently regarding the electric universe theory. And I'm no physics expert, I'm an analyst, but I know my symbolism. And I know something that these guys with the electric universe would probably want to know about. So I've got this right here from the electric sun hypothesis. And I came down here and it says this. The sun may be powered not from within itself, but from outside, the electric Birkeland currents that flow in our arm of the galaxy, as they do in all galaxies. This possibility that the sun may be externally powered by its galactic environment is the most speculative idea in the electric sun hypothesis, and is always attacked by critics, while they completely ignore all the other obvious properties of the electric sun model. In the plasma universe model, cosmic-sized, low-density current create the galaxies and the stars within those galaxies by the electromagnetic Z-pinch effect. It is only a small extrapolation to ask whether these currents remain in place to power those stars. Galactic currents are of low current density, but because the sizes of the stars are large, the total current amperage is high. An electrically powered sun's radiation power would be due to the energy delivered by that amperage. As it travels around the galactic center, the sun may come into regions of higher or lower current density, and so its output may vary both periodically and randomly. Okay, so the bottom line, our sun, it's saying, is powered by an external source, or it is charged by an external source. Forgive me if I don't get the physics completely correct here. My job here is to show you the symbolism and show you the connections, and you guys can take it from there as far as the science goes. Now, as far as the electric universe theory goes, is in the Birkeland currents versus the black holes and all that kind of stuff, I'm not even going to go there as far as that kind of stuff goes, because I believe that there's something that's not necessarily a Birkeland current going on, and not necessarily what has been defined as a black hole. So I'm not even going to go there. There's reasons I believe this, and it would require me to go out and cite things from early astronomers, from their diaries and things like this, which I really don't want to get into right now. I just want to show you the connections with this. So regardless of what we call it, Birkeland currents or not, Right here we see when one considers the electric star hypothesis, however, instead of mechanical action, heated gas, the Orion Nebula's radiant emanations are due to a boost in the current that powers the central stars. The electric sheath that is normally invisible receives additional input from the galactic Birkeland currents in which the immersed and gets pushed into the glow discharge state. So if you guys have seen the Orion Nebula before, it looks like what they call a Birkeland current, a trail coming off of the actual M42 and then actually ending at M42. But you can see the spirals. It looks like DNA or something like this. Jacob's ladder or DNA, whatever we want to call that. And it spirals all the way up until we get to the M42. And then, of course, the hottest region that we see, the brightest region, is inside the trapezium area. And now we get into the mysteries. This is something I would like to see the Thunderbolts project do more of, because they can get a lot of information this way if they would just pay attention to this kind of stuff. So what we can see right here is the focus that when we take a look at this. This is from Athanasius Kircher, one of his drawings. The focus is not on Saturn. Saturn is this little guy right here, okay? And if we take a look at the order of the planets, we have the Earth, Moon, Venus, Mercury, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Then we have the fixed stars, and then we have Jehovah. And what does it look like it's in right here? It's in a big cloud. Now, how can we back up what this actual cloud is? Well, we have mystical data that we can use that backs that up. As you can see right here in this image, we have what's called Karlskirche High Altar. Karlskirche is a cathedral located in Vienna, Austria. It was created in 1737, and we see the divine name again. We see Jehovah, just like we saw in Athanasius Kircher's drawing, with all the planets in the solar system, and then we have Jehovah, and all these things surrounding it are the clouds, just like we saw. Okay, so this triangle and its shape is important. And what we see is that is what is being depicted. And don't even worry about whether this can be done or not, because if you're a science guy and you haven't looked into the mysteries, these kinds of things pop up all the time. People knew things somehow. And what we see is they depicted in this art piece right here, the Orion Nebula in infrared. And all we have to do is break it down by the bow shock that we see on both sides. On the left side we have this crescent moon cloud right here, and on the right side we see the same thing here, the person with his arm reached out, the little guy kneeling underneath, the same images all the way down to the smallest detail. Okay, so that means that what we've done here is we found the correct label. The correct label, we see that Jehovah is located inside the triangle. That corresponds to the trapezium of the Orion Nebula. Okay, now this can also be backed up, because if we take a look at the symbol for Osiris, this is what we see right here. Now, the Osiris symbol that you see, the angles in the geometry match the same slopes as the pyramid. The pyramids were the construction of Osiris that we see in the pyramid texts. And what we read by here, by E.A. Wallace Budge, which is the renowned E.A. Wallace Budge, who deciphered most of the ancient hieroglyphs, says that Asari and Asar, which is actually Osiris, that his symbol is a seat or a resting place or a tent. With inside it we have an eye. This is the eye of Osiris. So Osiris represents the same thing as we see is Jehovah, which is the same thing as the Eye of Providence. And so this is the area that it's referring to. Now, so this is important because now we've got our symbolism. This is the area that we're going to be talking about. One more piece of symbolism that backs this up is we see that the same planets again that we have right here, ending in Saturn, and then after that we have this huge cloud. You see the triangle with the Yod inside of it, right? That's the same as what we see when we take a look at Yahweh. this right letter right here represents the same thing as what we see right here. This also has to do with Pythagoras and the Tetractys, if you guys are familiar with that symbolism. So this area, the Orion Nebula Trapezium, represents what we see in history. Okay, so this triangle is really important. Also, what we see inside the triangle, just like we saw on Osiris, was the eye inside the triangle. So we have this cloud, and inside the cloud we have a triangle. This is exactly what we see when we take a look at the Orion Nebula. Now let me show you one more thing here. And this brings us back to our article that we just read. This represents the Orion Nebula. The eye represents this vortex, whatever it is, this twisting thing, this force, whatever we want to call it. I'm not going to go there right now, but this is definitely the Orion Nebula. This is the Eye of Osiris. This is the Eye of Providence. And this cloud that surrounds it represents the Orion Nebula. So just to give you a better visual on that. So, in case you're wondering now what the symbolism they're referring to here is, in all cases we see clouds surrounding a triangle. Orion Nebula right here. We can see that the shape of the outside of this nebula is the same as what we see up here in this thing too. This represents right here the eye that sits inside of this trapezium. The same place that this is how I discovered that I thought there was a vortex there, and then NASA comes out a year later. They call it a black hole. It's still up for whatever we want to call it, but I was right that there is some kind of a force or a vortex, and it's represented by an eye. This represents Jehovah right here. Okay, but here's the important thing, because we saw that the sun is powered from an outside source in the electric sun theory. Well, in this 500-year-old alchemical arc that we see right here, we can see clearly that the outside source that is powering the sun is the Orion Nebula. Okay, it is Jehovah that is powering the sun. It's using the sun, according to this 500-year-old alchemical arc, as a reflector. And as you can see right here, it's shining a light to the sun. It reflects off the sun. You see this person's holding a lens, and then it comes all the way down, and we can see that it's burning something on the ground. Notice where this guy is pointing his telescope. He's not looking at the sun. He is looking at the Orion Nebula right here. So, with that being said, and we can see that the symbolism is the same, now let's take a look at where the Bible actually backs the electric universe theory up. See, this is why these ancient texts are so important. You can get valuable information out of them as a scientist. You can extract valuable information, not necessarily as proof of anything. The proof is left for you to prove scientifically, but it definitely helps steer you in the right direction. I've gotten so much truth out of doing all this stuff. So here we go. Here's the Bible talking about Jehovah in Job 9:7. He speaks to the sun, and it does not shine. He seals off the light of the stars. So this Jehovah area, this Orion Nebula Trapezium, speaks to the sun, and it does not shine. That means he powers it. He charges the sun. And when I say he, as a scientist, you can call it whatever you want. I'm personifying it. It doesn't really matter to me either way. So we have this Orion Nebula Trapezium, according to the alchemical art, and according to the Bible, that is the area that is responsible for the charge of the sun. It also meets the electric sun theory regarding the Birkeland currents. We can see that the Orion Nebula, if that is how you want to define it, is one large Birkeland current. There is an image that I have that shows that. And so this is what it looks like right here. You can see these twisting things that you have going on right here as they come all the way up and then to the Orion Nebula Trapezium right here in the center of this cloud, which is the M42. So once again, according to this electric universe theory or electric sun theory, the sun may be powered not from within itself but from outside by the electric Birkeland currents that flow in our arm of the galaxy as they do in all galaxies. This possibility that the sun may be externally powered by its galactic environment is the most speculative idea in the electric sun hypothesis and is always attacked by critics while they completely ignore all the other more obvious properties of the electric sun model. Now what this does not do is it does not tell us what's specifically responsible for it, but we can take a look at the symbolism regarding Jehovah, regarding Osiris, which represent the same areas, the same as the Eye of Providence, the eye with the triangle. That represents the Orion Nebula. We have the triangle with the cloud around it. And this is, in the alchemical art, shooting a ray to the sun, which bounces off the sun and gives light to the earth. So the light is reflecting off the sun. This is also what's mentioned in Isis Unveiled, which I would pull up right now, but I'm not going to bother with it. But in there they go into the electric universe theory, and they say that the stars are basically reflectors, and they reflect the light of the higher light, which in our case is the Orion Nebula Trapezium. So there you go. We have alchemical art and we have the Bible, folks, backing up the electric universe theory. The sun that we have in our solar system is charged by the Orion Nebula Trapezium. Y'all take care.